rep your third favourite trail and ultramarathon podcast while keeping cool and breezy in a DCR technical trucker hat, pleasing Woodland Vista, and one size fits most. Out now for $59.99 plus postage and packaging with a discount for DCR Aid Station paid subscribers. You'll find the code in the newsletter available from the Dirt Church Radio website, www.dirtchurchradio.com.
It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. It looks very good, actually.
It does.
I'm stoked with it. And they're flying out the door, and lots and lots of people. Limited supply. And the people who've bought them love them, so get your mitts on one.
And they're off. Here we go.
Welcome to the DCR Aid Station. I am Eugene Bingham, tēnā koutou katoa, no mai, hoki mai. We have a bit of something different this week. Matt has called in sick. He's still dealing with his concussion, it's an issue. So, kia piki te ora, Matt. But instead, I'm joined by Gareth Morris, who we had joined, we'd asked him to come on as a guest this week, and I've just roped him in as being co-host. How are you doing, Gareth?
I am great. Thank you, Eugene. I've been back in Aotearoa for a couple of weeks now, having had a nice trip to go and see friends and family in the UK. Yeah. The jet lag is gone.
That's good.
It was supposed to be a nice summer trip over there, but the UK summer turned to be quite similar to the Auckland winter we left, unfortunately. But it's lovely to be back. I'm kind of in some ways happy to be back at work because I've got the nice contrast. Had a lovely holiday. Back at work, really busy, and back doing a little bit of running. Nice.
And we'll come to why you might be back to doing a little bit of running. But it's a funny time of year, isn't it? This time of year, it's and especially after you've come off a big event such as you've done. But there's no races as such, and not many races as such. Naisby's coming up, of course, but
there's Naisby. You get these just beautiful crystal mornings some days, and so this morning was quite nice. I went out for a run with my club, the Whippets Running Project, around Cornwall Park, and it was freezing cold, but as soon as you get going, you warm up. It's really nice. And just, you got that nice early morning, beautiful sunlight that you get on a really crisp winter day. So yeah, it's kind of nice. And then, I'm pretty sure the rain will start again, being based out in West Auckland as I am. So yeah.
The double-owled Langholm. How good is it running in Cornwall Park on a Sunday morning? I used to do it regularly, and it's one of my favourite running experiences.
I go out there maybe once a month for the club, once every 4 or 5 weeks. It's really nice because we kind of do a loop of the park, and then we might run over the domain, loop that, come back, and then you just tack on as many loops as you like, and you can kind of go up to the top, which I didn't today. And it starts off nice and quiet, and you can see the daffodils are coming out. There's little signs of spring, and yeah, it's just really pleasant. And then as it warms up and gets later in the morning, people start to come in and just also enjoying that beautiful kind of calming, quiet, pleasant atmosphere you've got around the place. So it's just a great place to run.
It is. I used to love, and I still do when I get the chance, running on, there's a little, the little sort of very small dirt path that you follow. And you run along it, and I used to love running along it, thinking of all the incredible runners who I was running in their footsteps, and I was, but a mere mortal. But you think back to the Lydiard days and the the Snells and the McGees and all that, who used to train up at Cornwall Park, and here you are running, all these years later in their footsteps. They probably ran on the same little bit of dirt that's been worn into the park. It's a magic place. I love it.
It is. I didn't do that loop today, but I've done it a couple of times, and it's nice. You just kind of head through the gate, and you kind of take a bit of a right, and you head across that grass bit. Yeah. It's it's nice, and you can kind of work in a little bit of trail with the road as well.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah,
It's really
nice.
It sure is.
It goes something like further, faster, there in Christchurch, Rocky is hairy and so is Badger, Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious, go to further, faster now.
Oh, further, faster, there in Christchurch, Rocky is hairy and so is Badger, Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious,
Go to further, faster now.
Dipshits Radio.
Now, you attended the 2018 Commonwealth Games, so no doubt you're an aficionado on all things games, which is fortunate because we've got the Olympics on. So we decided we'd dedicate an entire episode to your watching experience of the 2024 Olympic Games. How's it been?
Oh no, I've failed already, Eugene. I have not watched, other than about 5 minutes in the break room at work, a single moment of the games, not even the highlights. Just coming back from holiday and being back at work and spending time with the family. I've just not done it. I'm so sorry. I've failed. We're gonna have to end the conversation now.
I'm kind of surprised because I would have thought, as a medalist, you'd be contractually obliged to at least watch your own nation's competitors at the given that Wales is part of the Great Britain team, so it's slightly different, but at the Olympics. But nonetheless, I would have thought it would have been in the contract.
I have technically fulfilled the requirements. I did tell a little bit of a lie. The one bit I have seen is I saw the Hayden Wild, Alex Yee finish to the triathlon. I watched that on YouTube the other day, and it was brilliant sport. It was brilliant sportsmanship. Just fantastic. So I actually have watched just enough to fulfill the terms of my contract. But that's about it this time, and I've got a lot of watching to do, a lot of catching up.
Well, if that was the one bit of the Olympics that you've watched, it was a pretty magical bit to watch, wasn't it? And that kind of racecrafts, I don't know what you call it, the racecraft, involved, wasn't it, of Wild, to know that Yee was always going to sprint him off. If he just sat behind him, that's what was going to happen. And so to take that chance when he noticed that Yee had slowed down, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to go now, even though it's really early, to have the guts to give it a go. And just, when the commentators were getting very excited and saying, "Oh, he's got the gold," it's like, oh, hang on. As a runner, we know how this may end. Hopefully, it won't. But poor guy. Yeah. But better to die. What is it? Live on your feet than to die on your knees.
That's the one. Yeah. And he went for it. He absolutely went for it. And it's, like I say, great sport. Yeah. And then at the end, you could tell he was really, really pleased for the other guy, for Alex Yee. He was just like, and put his arm around it. And I thought that was just great. That's the spirit of sport right there. Really
absolutely. I had a look into because I can't help myself because I'm a running nerd, dived into the splits, and for the first, he was like, and for the splits, he was like second for the first K, Hayden Wild, and then 1, and then the second to last one, he was like seventh fastest, and then the last one, he was 16th fastest. And Yee, meanwhile, who everyone thought had just sped up, basically he just didn't slow down as fast, and so he was only fourth fastest for that last split. So Wild basically just hit the wall, didn't he? And who hands up who that hasn't happened to in a race.
Health, immunity, purple pills, winter months, sore bodies, recovery needs. Currents can help with all of that. We've been on the Purple Buzz for a long time. We reject the industrial blackcurrant complex. currents.co.nz for all the goodness. Eugene, what do you have to say?
I think it's all about the science. Look at the science. Read the papers. Go to the website, currents.co.nz. Have yourself a look at what the researchers have had to say about the mighty benefits of the mighty blackcurrant pills.
Anyway.
And those, we should say, those guys have got some serious legs on them.
Oh,
they're running 5K in the 14s. You know, they could probably, if they focused on it, qualify to run 5K at the Olympics for GB in New Zealand if they wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, they're seriously quick.
They got
so
wheels.
So fast.
They got wheels. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. As a member of the shooting team, tell me you saw the Turkish guy who's become like a crowd favourite.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, the casual, the casual arm and hand in the pocket, which you in ISSF. Pistol, I think you do have to have a hand in a pocket or behind your back.
Right.
It's one-handed only, but just the casual air and the glasses and the no earphone. You know, not the glasses with the blinder and the lens and the little iris on it and everything. Just there, casually, you know, breathe in, breathe out, stick it in the middle, squeeze the trigger gently. You know, classic stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Just that little sort of nonchalant air of mastery, you know. It's fantastic,
isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Sometimes we can overcomplicate things with sport, can't we? So sometimes it just pays to strip it all back, and there we go. Yeah,
absolutely. But it was, it's nice to see. There's every Olympics you get these little stories come out of people, and just it's a nice little story, you know. It's like the story of the triathlon, the sportsmanship of it, the brilliant finish of it, and just these nice little character stories as well.
Yeah,
a little bit of color. It's great.
Yeah. I'll do one more Olympic stories because Olympics nerd as well as running nerd. Did you hear about Sharon from the Solomon Islands?
I saw something just today on social media, and I can't remember what it was.
So she has run the last 2 Olympics for the Solomon Islands in the marathon. She's a marathon runner.
Yeah.
You know, she represented a country and good on her at the last 2 Olympics in the marathon. Was certainly in no danger of challenging for medals, but nonetheless, she ran the marathon. This time around, the IOC had introduced standards that, you know, it's all athletes had to meet. And unfortunately for her, she didn't qualify. She wasn't eligible to run in the marathon again. However, the IOC also hands out some wildcards to countries to make sure that they have at least one athlete at the games. And so they gave the Solomons a wildcard because they had no other runners. And so they said, oh, well, fine, well, Sharon can come along and have another crack at the marathon. Turns out there were, when the race entries came out, there were no places available in the marathon. So they put her in the 100 metres. She'd been entered into the 100 metres. And so on Friday night, our time, she lined up in the 100 metres. Now, that is the stuff that I think I've had nightmares like that, where I find myself running in the Olympic 100 metres as a slow marathon runner. Can you imagine it? But she did. So good on her. But
fantastic! I'll go look that up. I need to spend a bit more time on the television catching up with the stories, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, you have recently, as you said, returned from the UK where you ran a Bob Graham round, as well as catching up with everyone. For those of you who don't know, 106 kilometres, 8,200 metres, 250 metres of vert and descent, a vertical ascent and descent, and you cracked the magic 24-hour mark, 23 hours, 27 minutes and 33 seconds. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Where to begin? It was a hell of a day. It was an absolute hell of a day, a night and a day. So I guess probably just better talk about the round and where it comes for people who aren't familiar with. So there's this idea, and it's like a tradition. It's probably nearly 200 years old, of starting at like the town hall in Keswick. It's called the Moot Hall, and you touch the door, and the rules are simple. You touch the door, you get to the top as many peaks over like 2,000 feet, 600 meters within 24 hours, and you must be back and touch the door again within 24 hours. And like the first guy who did this, I was in the 1830s, I think, and he did something like 18 peaks, and he made it to the top of the 3 highest peaks, which are or 3 of the 4 highest peaks. So I think he did Skiddaw, Helvellyn, and Scafell, which are the second, third, and fourth highest peaks in England. And over the years, this gradually built up to this guy, Bob Graham, who was, I think he was a hotelier in Keswick, so he ran a hostel in town. He had paced someone who'd had an attempt like the year before and hadn't made it round, and I think he'd had a go. And then in 1932, he tried this, and he set it at 42 peaks. And I think he did it in 23 hours and 30-something minutes he made back. And no one could repeat it, and several people tried for years. I think there was one guy or two guys who they actually made it round, but they didn't do it in under 24 hours, so it didn't count. And then sort of there was the Second World War, and there was this sort of hiatus, and then this group of people came together around a bunch of runners, and in 1960, a guy called Alan Heaton did it again in 22 hours and change. I can't remember exactly. And they formed this club to try and get people to repeat this incredible feat. And sort of over the years, it's become this group of people that's expanded, and the part of the membership of the club, the core of it is this concept that if you were admitted to the club, the onus is on you to help other people make it round. And I think a lot of people take it really seriously, which we'll kind of talk about. So, and I'd heard of this thing. I knew the area quite well because I've been going there since I was a kid. And it's like a test piece. It's a thing. It's like doing 100-miler in under 24 hours. That it's a deeply, deeply personal achievement, a journey, that something you undertake. And yeah, I just had this stunning day out there with these people who cared deeply, deeply about this, the traditions of this, the round and the mountains in the Lake District.
So we're talking about the Lake District, which is sort of, do we call it the north?
Yeah, it's northwest England.
Yep.
Just south of Scotland, just under the border.
Yep. And it's not a race. It's just to be clear, it's not a race. You do it. You have a crack at it, and the word round is kind of, there are lots of rounds. It's a sort of fell running terminology, isn't it? It's steeped in that sort of fell running history. There's three major rounds in the UK. There's the Bob Graham, which is in the Lake District. There's now I've got to get this the right way around. There's the Charlie Ramsay, which I think is in Scotland, and then the Paddy Buckley, which is in Snowdonia in Wales. And there's the Wicklow round in Ireland as well. Yeah. And so when did you sort of first become aware of it, or when did it sort of enter your consciousness?
I'm pretty sure it was Richard Askwith's superb book, Feet in the Clouds. And the reason I say I'm pretty sure is I spent quite a lot of time in the Lake District. I've been going there since I was probably 6 years old. Because my best mate's parents, my godparents, Malcolm and Judith, have a house there, and so I went there when I lived in the UK when I was a kid, sort of at least once a year. So I kind of may have heard of it when I was younger, but it never really entered my consciousness until I read Richard Askwith, friend of the show, I think. I read his book, and I think that must have been probably about 2013, 2014, just when I started to get into running.
And what sort of terrain are we talking about? I mean, we'll talk in depth about the round itself, but can you describe maybe for those who aren't familiar what the Lake District is like, and what sort of conditions you normally expect and that sort of thing?
Wet.
Yeah.
It's in Cumbria, so the northwest of England. It gets a lot of rain because it gets the prevailing weather coming in from the Atlantic, and it's this hilly area of hundreds of, I guess you call them small mountains, because the highest one, Scafell Pike, is only 900 and some meters high. And so there's lots of them, and they're kind of arranged into ridge lines. The terrain's incredibly varied, from really grassy steep slopes with heather, bracken, gorse, to other areas that are just incredibly, particularly around the Scarfells, are just really, really rocky. And it's just these kind of sort of football and larger sized boulders just arranged into piles. Really, really wide mixture of terrain, very, very boggy, very wet, pretty steep for the most parts. The climbs are really, really steep.
And technical, so you...
Yeah. Yeah, there's about 10k of road in the round, a little bit at the start, and about 9k going back into Keswick at the end. But some of the bits are, I mean, talking about the Scafell region, saying you're boulder hopping for large parts of it, or scree running. There's a lot of scree downhill, which is just, I was going to say it's fabulous, but you're probably about 60k in at that point, so you're not necessarily in the right frame of mind to enjoy it. But yeah, really technical. And there's a couple of route choices, particularly going from Scafell Pike to Scafell, where there's no good way to do it, and you either have to rock climb or you end up going up one of a couple of different gullies that have some pretty serious exposure. You've got like a 300-meter drop off the side of you. So technical, steep, committing, pretty exposed, terrifying, I think, in parts if you've not got a great head for heights.
Yeah, wow. And what are some of the basic rules that you have to follow to be able to do it? Because it's not marked. It's not marked as such, is it? And there's no. And since it's a race, how do you prove that you've done it? All those sorts of things. What are some of the basic rules?
The round itself is this list of 42 peaks, and the rule is you touch the door at the moot hall, you touch the summit of each of these 42 peaks in whatever order you like, in whatever path you like, and then you touch the door again. It's that simple. It does get slightly more complicated because there's actually a club, and the rules of the club state that you've got to have someone witness you touching each of the peaks. That's partly to make sure that people don't cheat, but really it's for safety as well, because like any mountainous region, the weather is out there is quite treacherous. You can go from good visibility to zero visibility incredibly quickly. There's a lot of cliffs around, and it's really easy to get disoriented, lost, hypothermic, all of the fun, exciting adventures you can have out in the mountains. So I guess you touch the door, you touch the summit of each of these 42 peaks in any order, you touch the door and you have someone see you or pace you or witness you on your round. And then you submit that to the club, and they say generally yes or no. It's pretty rare that they say no these days, simply because it's so well witnessed, and with GPS and everything else like that. It's pretty well covered. You tend to have pretty good evidence that you've done it. That you've done it.
Yeah. So you'd heard of it in Richard's book, and when did you sort of seriously first start thinking, I want to have a go at this?
I sort of read the book, and I think at the time, again, it was one of those things when I just started running and I didn't have the fitness or the experience, and it never occurred to me at the time. It sort of, I guess it did, but only in the context of that's who runs 106 kilometers, 66 miles through the mountains, not me. And then over time, you get fitter, you get faster, and you have this realization that maybe some of these things are in your grasp. And I think it was 5 years ago. I was on a trip to the UK. Unfortunately, because it was my mother was extremely ill and had passed away, and we stopped in to see my godparents, who were my godmother Judith was my mum's best friend, and I thought, well, I'm up there, I might as well go and have a look around Leg One, because it's easy to get to. I'd walked Skiddaw before, and so I went and ran it, and it was about 14 miles. I got very, very lost, but really enjoyed it on a cold but lovely April day, and kind of ran back down and stopped in at the village Threlkeld at the bottom of the pub and had a pint of shandy and a packet of crisps while I waited for my wife to come pick me up. And this idea formed was, well, that wasn't too bad. I enjoyed that. By this point, I'd run Tarawera 100k. I think, I'd run Tarawera 100 mile as well. So I'm like, they're going, well, I've run one of the 5 legs. I know I can run long distances. Maybe we give this a go one day. But I hadn't set a timeline or anything. It was just this idea. And then the last time we were over there to see family 2 years ago, I ran, I think it was legs 2 and leg 5. And I was like, okay, it's on. I've got to try this.
Yeah.
I've got to try this, because there's the tradition of it. There's the fact that I've spent so many years in the Lake District looking at these places, and I've walked quite a lot of the bits of it. And so I was like, yeah, let's go and give this a go and have a great time, because it's just such a, like I say, the beauty of the mountains and the challenge of them. It's just magnificent.
Wonderful. And you, as Matt remembered, when we recorded that you'd done it, you spent one of your lockdown runs memorizing the names of the peaks.
I did.
You were committed. You were committed, weren't you?
I was, Skiddaw, Great Carver, Blancathra, Cloughhead, Great Dodd, Watson Dodd, and so on, all 42 in order.
Yeah.
And yeah, you it's worthwhile knowing, because it's not just a running challenge. It's not just an endurance challenge. Sure, you've got people there to run with you, and they'll help you with the nav. That's absolutely within the rules. But you've got to go into it in the spirit it's intended. That you've got to steep yourself in it. You've got to know a little bit about the bearings and choose the routes you want to take, because each of the legs there's route choices. There's different ways of doing it, and you can pick it depending on your strengths. So the classic one is, I was talking about the route between Scawfell Pike and Scawfell. There's like 3 routes, one of which is you just go straight up the middle and rock climb. But if you fall off, it's a 300-meter. You're going to fall 300 meters onto rock, and it's a known accident black spot. So some people do it, though. Some people absolutely do it. There's kind of another one called Fox's Tarn, which if you've not quite got the head heights, it's the slowest route, but it's the safest. Or there's the kind of middle one I chose, and I think Mal Law did the same route as well, which is up the Lord's Rake, which is a scree-filled gully, and then you cut across the Westwall Traverse. So you've kind of got to make lots of decisions about the round, and sure, you could have people just ferry you around it, but that's not in the spirit of the thing. You've got to immerse yourself in the culture of it, the route itself, and learn the thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to do it and feel that I got carried around by people, that I didn't participate in the navigation, the route choice, that kind of stuff.
So speaking of those people who do help you and sort of swing in behind you, how did you make contact with them, and how do you go about, letting people know that you're keen and that you're serious and that you're capable as well?
This is kind of an interesting one. So I had 7 pacers, and I'm going to read out their names, but just because
please do.
These people who helped me out, they've got a love and a passion for it that's just incredible. And I'll talk a little bit more on their details. So in the first leg, I had Andy and Dave, and then Simon and Richie on leg 2, and particularly Simon and Richie. There's micro navigation, and you can save moments. These guys are like, don't touch that pile of stones. That's not the true summit. It's the one 10 yards over, because there are so many piles of stones that quite a lot of people used to go and touch them all just because, to be safe. But they knew exactly which ones. They knew the fastest routes. They were asking me questions about, did I want to take the stairs on the left or the steep bit on the right? So Simon and Richie, just this incredible micro knowledge of every blade of grass in the kind of leg 2. Jeff and Ali on leg 3, Martin on leg 4, and James on leg 5. So thank you to those guys who were just, they were everything you would want in paces, everything. So I kind of went on to, of course, the answer is to many things these days is the internet. I went onto a Facebook group around it called Bob Graham Round Attempts 2023 and onwards. And I was on there, and Martin, who's a former colleague of mine, we both got into running, and he said, hold on, I can get you some paces. Let me know how you're going. And so I'd already picked up a couple who'd messaged me and said, yeah, I'd love to. That's a good weekend for me. Which leg would you like me to do? And then Martin, bless him, he went and corralled through, I don't know, bribery, corruption, threats, whatever, to these other group of people. And just, these people obviously had such incredible love that they would drive, I think, up to 100 miles to meet some guy in the middle of the night who they've never met before and have, no knowledge of, other than possibly a bit of Strava stalking, I was told, to then shepherd him through sort of 4 to 5 hours, 13, 14 miles, 20, 21 kilometers, and a couple of thousand meters of vert through the mountains, for absolutely no recompense themselves other than the joy and the satisfaction of having done it.
Wow. Amazing. Isn't that beautiful?
This community of people who will do that. Some of whom have not done the round themselves, because you don't have to have done the round. So Andy, one of the guys on leg one, Scottish guy, got roped into it the last minute. He came and ran with us, and he's I think I don't know how many he said, but he's certainly pick a number between 5 and 10 rounds he's helped out on. He's not done it himself just because he really likes it. He gets a kick out of it. He so enjoys helping people and seeing them achieve something that's really hard. And what better a way to spend your weekends than that?
Fantastic. I love that. That's shiver down the spine kind of thing, really. Just that sacrifice and that shared joy, really, of something, especially something that's got such amazing tradition and history.
Yeah. And some of them had to drive off and get home or go and get some sleep, because the first leg we finished at 2 a.m. But half of them rocked up to see me finish and run up at the moot hall at sort of 9:25 the following night as well.
Brilliant.
So
yeah. So you obviously started at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at night. Yeah.
Yep. And so how did you have a weather window, or were you just like, I'm doing it this day, come hell or high water?
It was pretty much, yeah. It was all around the logistics of, it was my godparents' 50th wedding anniversary the next day, and there was a 3-line whip on the Sunday that I would be finished, and it's also hard to arrange during a week. So a Friday night's perfect time to start. And you pick your start time based around which bit you would feel most comfortable running in the dark. So people you mostly seem to be, and of course it's very late in summer, so it gets dark. It was light until 10:30 at night, and it started to get light again in the morning. So at about 4, so you've only really got 6.5 hours of darkness. And I was pretty comfortable with leg 1. And leg 2. So I thought, well, I'll start late at night and run through that. But the timing was determined by family visit logistics and everything else like that. And I just accepted that the weather was going to be what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And got kind of lucky. It was a bit wet, but it was chilly, which is good. And it was cloudy, so I didn't get baked by the sun. Didn't get absolutely soaked either. So yeah, actually, I don't think the weather could have been a lot better, so I got lucky with that. My pacer on the first leg, Dave, regaled me of his round. I think it was last year or the year before, where he finished and it was 28 degrees and he was dehydrated and absolutely sunburnt to hell, but couldn't care because he got it done. So I got really lucky with the weather. And everything was just it's just great. You just start out and you just touch the door, and there are a few people who know what's going on in the town hall, and they kind of give you a bit of a clap, and you just gradually run out of town, and you just see this big mountain. Skiddaw, your first mountain, and you jog out through the park, and then you gradually go out onto the fell, and it gets steeper, and then we're about halfway up, and it's pitch black. Head torches on, and you're just running through the night, and just getting the feel for it.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I've always imagined that the mandatory nutrition requirement for a Bob Graham round is a cheese and pickle sandwich. Did you have any cheese and pickle sandwiches?
No, there were ham sandwiches.
Ham sandwiches?
There were ham sandwiches.
Okay.
I went high tech.
Yeah.
Haribo. Haribo Star Mix and Morton. Okay. Morton 320 and 160 powder in water. Drank an awful lot of that. I was sick of it by the finish. But I seem to be able to tolerate Haribo Star Mix and ham sandwiches pretty much no matter what. But the real secret to it is there's this malt loaf called Saurine. I don't know if we have it here in New Zealand.
Oh, what's that?
It's like this dark brown malt loaf with raisins or currants in it.
Yeah.
You spread it thickly with butter, and you can get it down no matter what. I'm sure that's the secret.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very British
Yes.
thing. It's very common at UK ultras and fell races, apparently, to have it at aid stations and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's an awful lot of eating going on all of the time.
You have to, don't you? You have to. Do you ever run through villages, or you're in the fells? Like, there's no cheeky pints along the way.
No, the only place you could possibly get a cheeky pint was maybe at Wasdale, because there is the Wasdale Head Inn, but that would be a bit of a diversion to go down there. So not really. The only time you go through villages is in the last 10 kilometers when you're coming back into Keswick.
Yeah.
The round is around. There are 4 road crossings, so each of the legs is split by a road crossing. So after the first, I guess you run through Threlkeld at 2:00 in the morning, and then meet these people on just like a main road, an A road, and you're generally met by crew, and it's like having a mobile aid station or doing a self crewed ultra or something like that.
Yeah.
And in that, I've got to express my enormous gratitude to my wife. I originally had 2 people, my older brother and my wife, who were going to crew me, and my older brother had to drop out, unfortunately. And so my wife drove certainly over 300 kilometers, picking up people, ferrying them to run with me, taking them back to their cars, feeding me, texting me to say, what do you want the next one? I'd love a ham sandwich, please. I feel terrible. Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee really, really helped. Each time. And so you don't really go through villages, but you cross the roads, and that's where you get a chance to swap paces, top up everything. But there's quite a bit of logistics that goes into that.
That's an endurance incident, or endurance event in itself. Sorry,
it really is.
Crewing, like that, and 300 kilometers of driving. That's quite something. And trying to stay awake and getting around, and amazing, and all the navigation and everything. So hats off to her.
Massively. And it was okay, because each of the time she'd have 1 or 2 of my paces in the car who knew exactly where they were going, so the navigation was okay. But it's an ultra marathon, as you say, in itself, just doing all of the driving around the place. So the next holiday is going to be somewhere with a beach and a spa, and whatever Katrina wants on her holiday, she's going to get.
Absolutely.
She absolutely is. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what were your sort of highlights? I mean, obviously completing it, but along the way, what are some of the things that you look back on fondly?
I guess I talked about the joy that some of my paces had in doing this, and the good humor. It's odd. You come off the first leg and you're running through Threlkeld towards the cricket club car park, and you've kind of met your paces for the first leg and had a chat, and you're waiting for these 2 guys to turn up who you've never met before in your life, and just like going, well, what if they're not there? What if they're just a couple of guys and they're not going to be able to pace me, and they don't know it, or whatever. And the relief when you run down there, and these 2 guys, these 2 head torches, and they're like, yeah, we're Simon and Richie, let's go get it done. And you're just like, there's this palpable moment of relief, I guess. The other highlight on that leg was just coming towards dawn. It was very claggy, a lot of clouds, so you didn't really get like a dramatic sunrise. It just got slightly less grey, less dark. But we were running, it must have been 3:45 in the morning, across this moor, somewhere around, not quite at Helvellyn yet. And there's this quiet little bird song in the distance, and there's these 3 guys, and we're just running along, and all you can hear is our feet just going squelch, 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 squelch. And there's this little bit of bird song over in the background, just really quietly. And there is no other noise, because there's no wind. It is totally flat calm. And this moment of just being there in the moment, in this enormous piece of doing something that you're really, really getting a kick out of at the time. just fantastic.
Yeah.
And that little moment of quiet, of calm, will really, really stick with me. So that was that massive highlight there.
Magic.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I get it's having heard and read about the Bob Graham round. Yeah, I always imagined it as being quite busy and lots of runners around, or the hubbub around it, or and I wasn't sure whether there were villages along the way and things as well. So I've always kind of imagined it as quite a noisy environment. So for you to say that you had that special moment of just quietness is beautiful.
It was really pretty quiet. So legs 1 and 2. Leg 1, there was just us 3. Didn't see anyone else. No other lights running. Leg 2, once we got to the top, sort of about the time I was talking when we heard the bird song, we could see there was another party. I think they were about 90 minutes ahead of us, and you could see a couple of torches in the distance up there. And then you sort of drop down to the second road crossing at Dunmail Raise, which is like in a pass, and kind of there, and it's daylight, and then you kind of head up. So we didn't see very many people. We actually, unfortunately, the guy whose name was Rich, we caught up with him around Esk Pikes about halfway through the third leg, and he unfortunately didn't have the best day and ended up dropping at the next road crossing at Wasdale. And so apart from actually that road crossing at Wasdale, it was really quiet, and we saw very, very few people actually out on the hills for most of the day. Wow. And the reason Wasdale was so busy is because of the Wasdale Fell Race, which is one of the classic long races. And they were mostly finished by the time we came through there, but there's all sorts of tents where the race HQ is. Yeah. But other than that, leg 4, my friend Martin and I, we saw a couple of people. Leg 5 was, even once we got onto the roads, we saw nobody. So it's almost like I got to run 100k just with these 7 paces I had, and saw my wife, and 1 or 2 other people, but not very many. And so I felt really privileged by that, and just getting this whole place, this playground, these mountains to myself for best part of 24 hours.
Brilliant. What was an unexpected challenge that you faced?
Oh man. So for me, the expected challenge, the crux of it, was dropping off Scarfell, going up this tricky, exposed Lord's Rate Westwall Traverse Deep Gill, because it's scrambling, and Deep Gill is horrible. It's muddy, and you're going up a sort of 50, 60 degree slope on mud. There's about 100 meters of that, and then there's like a 300 meter drop underneath that. So it's quite fun. Now, I got through that. That was the expected challenge. Got down, and on leg 4, you kind of pick up at the first few peaks, and then you do Kirk Fell, which is, if you ask someone to draw a Lake District fell who knew about the Lake District, they draw Kirk Fell. It's steep-sided, it's covered in scree, it's got gullies. And the tourist path up it is, it's a nice route, it's a bit steep, but it's also long. And so in true fella running tradition, you go and take a really steep, gnarly shortcut up Red Gully. And I was feeling a bit low. We're probably 80 kilometers into this thing, 75k. I'm really knackered. I've just about been keeping pace with my hydration, but I'm probably a little bit low on sugar. And I just wasn't expecting to go and have to climb. And there's actually a couple of moves of rock climbing in there. And partly because we took the wrong gully. We should have gone one gully over. So we went up a slightly harder route. And I just remember and just having to stand there and reach for this thing and going, shit, I'm not going to make it. Take a step back and then do it and then step back. I was just like, are you going to do this or not, Gareth? Because if you're going to do it, you've got to just do it. And so left leg up, right hand on the spike, stand up, stand, and go, and then just scramble the way up the rest of it. And I remember that bit it being so, it wasn't very hard. You'd probably go up it if you hadn't run 75k. It would be easy, at least easier than I made it. But on top of being a bit low on sugar, having run 75k and just not expecting it, and just getting to the top and basically almost being on hands and knees going, I'm so glad that's over. I'm so glad that's over. And feeling really quite down that I felt bad about it, even though I've just overcome this unexpected challenge. And I'd say that was probably the low moment psychologically. Physically, most of the time, you're going to feel tired. You always are. But everyone talks about how getting out of Wasdale is hard. And so U-Barrow, I think it's about the 26th peak, is usually called U-Bastard. Richard Askwith says in his book, if you're not crying when you're going at Red Pike, you're not trying hard enough. Those were hard, but I felt okay with that. It was just this unexpected short cruxy bit up, a muddy gully that just for some reason just caught me.
Just kicked you in the pants. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you confident that you had it all day, or was there a moment you realized that you were going to make it in under 24 hours?
No, I was pretty confident. You've got to go into it feeling confident. And I was pretty confident all through the first, certainly all of legs 1 and 2, most of leg 3. I took a long time coming down off Scarfell. I fell over on a boulder field and shredded up my right leg. And so it was really around that low point in leg 4 where time had started to slip away from you a bit. I was aiming for a 23-hour schedule, and it had started to slip away, and I was probably 35 to 40 minutes behind schedule, which is where you've got to get a bit of a grip, because that's only 20 minutes over a 24-hour day, which is not a lot. That's a couple of percent.
Yeah.
That's 3%, something like, and that can disappear like that.
Yeah.
So I was pretty confident until that point, and I got out of the slow patch. We had a bit of undulating, but not seriously up and down. I just said to Martin, "Give me that bag of Haribo that Katrina gave you at the last thing," and I just started shoving penny sweets in my mouth and getting those down. And there was this moment where you want to do this, Gareth. You really want to do this. Don't cock it up now, because if you do and you just let it slip away from you, you're going to have to do all of that again. And I don't want to do. While I've enjoyed most of it, there are a couple of bits I really just don't want to do again. So don't cock it up now. Dig in. Get on with it. Just get on with it. Just keep going. Just keep going, and you'll make it.
Yeah.
And there's this brilliant saying, and it's, you've got to do positive things to make yourself feel positive. It's from, she's done a double Bob Graham round. She's done the Barkley Marathons. British
Jasmine
woman.
Paris.
No, not Jasmine Paris. The other British woman. She did the Barkley Marathons a couple of years ago. It'll come to me. And she's this amazing athlete. And I just remember her saying in another podcast, do positive things to make yourself feel positive. Because if you're not feeling positive, you don't do positive things. So do something positive. Eat something. Drink something. Get something in your head. And I just got this thing in my head that I'm not a person. I'm a machine. I walk, I run, I eat, and I drink. And that is it. And I'm going to eat something, and I'm going to drink something, and I'm going to walk some more. And if I can run, I'll run a bit. And there was just this determination that I just did not want to have to do Red Gully again. I was just going to get there. And as if I kept moving, it would just happen.
Yeah. And you did.
And I did.
And you did. You smashed it.
I did.
How good did that feel?
It felt great. And it was just stuff like, I ate something, I drank something. I said to my pacer, Martin, right, as soon as we can see Honest to Slate Mine, which is the final road crossing, I'm going to give you all of my stuff. I want two 500ml flasks of Morton 120. I want a bag of Haribo, and I want my final piece of Saurian malt loaf. I'm not going to stop. Give them to James, my next pacer. I'm just going to run through. I'm going to throw my rubbish in the car on the way past. And I just got to the next thing, and it said steep grassy slope, but it's not quite runnable. And I just got my poles out, and it was like pole, step, pole, step, pole, step, pole, step. And so I just didn't stop. And my pacer, of course, James, being in quite good shape, and also the fact that it's actually, you probably could run the slope if you're, in better shape than me and haven't got 80, 90 kilometers in your legs. And he just caught up with me and just sort of stuck, the two flasks in the pockets of my vest and gave me a bag of Haribo. And we got to the top.
Brilliant.
And then once you've got Robinson, once you've got Dale Head done, there's just two. There's Heinscoth and Robinson. It's not a lot of climb. The climb's done. And you've just got some steep descents. And then you just got the road. And you just got to do it. You just one foot in front of the other. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And just this determination of, I'm not a person. I'm not a man, a human. I'm a machine. And I take a step, and I eat something, and I drink something, and I take some more steps.
And then you touch a door.
And you touch the door.
Yeah.
And you do. And amazingly, I ran most of the last, but not fast, nice that sort of gentle jog trot. And then I just remember getting to the end of you kind of cross over this bridge and you see the high street, and you can see there's a gentle uphill. And I remember it felt like I was sprinting the final 200 or 300 meters. I was probably barely breaking 6 minutes a kilometer, but it felt like I was hammering down there. And then, you just kind of walk up to it, and you're like, I've got 5 meters, 5 stairs to walk up to touch the door, and I've got half an hour to do it. And I'm there. And there's people clapping, and there's people who are clapping who have no idea what's going on. They've just seen some guy who looks like death come in and run through the town hall with a few other people clapping, and someone, comes and hands you a beer. Or the beverage of your choice.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
you sit there and that's it.
Fantastic. And that was, 10 years in the making, really, from conception, first idea of it, to knocking it off. What an achievement.
Yeah.
What an achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was difficulty-wise, it was really, really hard. But it was really hard. And the bit I was most proud of was that realization to myself and the determination. It's just make it happen. You've got time, and I pulled back in the last leg. I pulled back 15 minutes. I took 15 minutes back out of the schedule. But it's there, and it's maybe a little bit bittersweet because you've done this thing and you've enjoyed it, and it's this amazing experience, and there's a richness to that experience, a richness to it. You might feel terrible. You might be sick of the sight of, your running vest and water bottles and whatever you've been eating. But there's a richness to this experience that you're really living, and you experience stuff down to the bone and with a richness and a depth you don't in everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'm not going to ask you what's next because that's unfair. Let's just sit in that and just enjoy it. And congratulations. Amazing. Thank you for sharing it with us as well. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. And I'd say to anyone who wants to have a go at the Bob Graham round, you absolutely should, but take it seriously, train for it, work hard at it. It's an astonishing experience, but it doesn't have to be the Bob Graham round. That's just one of these things, and it's a particular experience. We've got things here in New Zealand. We've got the SK Traverse.
Yeah. There's a Craigieburn round.
The Craigieburn round. Oh man, that looks like a doozy. That does.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations again. I really appreciate it. Not only for sharing that experience with us, but for jumping in as co-host. Because I don't know which was tougher, Bob Graham round or doing that, but you made it.
Stepping into Matt's shoes, it is a big pair of shoes to fill.
It's true. That's very true. All right. Well, thank you again, Gareth. That's it. Thank you to our DCR aid station crew. Stay tuned for the quote-unquote real DCR podcast next week when we have an amazing guest lined up. And once again, thank you very much to Gareth Morris.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Rigby.
If you want to get the DCR hit that you love ad-free and get it every single Wednesday, there's a way to do that. Sign up to become a member of the DCR Aid Station crew, $8 a month or $80 a year. Paid subscribers get full access to the newsletter featuring recommendations, reviews, and the special sauce. Special sauce is quite cool, isn't it, Matt?
Maybe I've been drinking from the special sauce bottle a bit much lately, but really enjoy putting together the content, really love bringing it out to the people, and the people really love it too. So yeah, get involved, support Dirt Church Radio. We've been cracking on for 6 years now, and we really love bringing this to you. So help us help you to help us help you, helping us.
You can find a link on the website, which is www.dirtchurchradio.com.